It's time to get down to business on TK Business Live, brought to you by the members of the Topeka Independent Business Association. Now, let's join Tara Dimmick, owner and publisher of TK Business Magazine, as we take a look into the business world of Topeka, Kansas.
Hi, welcome to TK Business Live. It is great to be with you this Sunday, and we've got a great show coming up. I've got Matt Pivarnik joining me. Matt is the CEO of the Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka. And we're going to get a chance to talk with him about what's going on over at the Chamber, what he's learned in the last 6-7 months since he came on board, and what he's hoping to see for the future of Topeka and the business community here. So I'm looking forward to talking with him. And then after that, we'll get Traci Herrick and Matt Deusch from Berberich Trahan are going to join me. They're going to talk a little bit about the CFO consulting services that Berberich Trahan now provides. And what is CFO consulting, and would your business need it? Why would your business need it? And what does it look like to have an outsourced CFO? So they're going to explain that a little bit more in detail, and I'm looking forward to talking with them. And then finally, I've asked Andrea Engstrom with Action Coach Business Coaching and Bajillion Agency to join me and talk a little bit about give us a business tip to help your business grow. So she's going to come in for a quick business tip to help your business grow. Matt Pivarnik is with me. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
Matt is the CEO of Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka. If you haven't heard about him yet or haven't got a chance to meet with him, which he has met many, many people in the community already, working hard on that, then I asked him I'd like him to tell a little bit about himself. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about who you are and what brought you to Topeka.
Well, again, my name's Matt Pivarnik. I've been here since January. So it's been a kind of a fast and furious 5.5 months. Previous to being in Topeka, I was in Tulsa, at the Tulsa Regional Chamber, which is the Chamber and Economic Development Organization, for about 17 years. So what brings me to Topeka? Really in 2014, there was a group of community leaders that made a trip to Tulsa from Topeka. And I had the pleasure of spending about a half a day with that group, actually close to a full day with the group. Had dinner with them, got to talk to a lot of community leaders, the mayor, some of our elected leaders, business leaders. And I remember going home that evening, and I told my wife, I said, if these Topeka leaders do what they say they're going to do, what they say they're going to do in 2014, if they actually do it, I think Topeka is a community that we ought to keep our eyes on, because I think they're going to do great things. And so late in 2015, I received a phone call, and it was, I can't remember exactly who called me, but it was somebody saying, hey, we remember meeting you in Tulsa in 2014, and we have this position open, and we were wondering if you might be interested in coming and having a conversation with us. And so I jumped on it and came, and one thing led to another, and we sort of fell in love with Topeka, and now I'm here. I would just say that I've been in this business for a long time, and just kind of love the business of community development.
Well, it's great to have you here, and it's not just you that came, right? You brought a load.
Yeah, well, so I have 3 boys, and so my wife and 3 boys and I all relocated here. And one of the pleasant surprises is one day my parents asked us. They said, "Would you mind if we moved to Topeka too, if we followed you?"
So they asked.
They asked first.
Wow, that's really cool.
It was nice, and we said, well, we would absolutely love that. And then the very next day, my wife's parents, who also lived in Tulsa, asked if they could relocate to Topeka, and they pretty much told us. They didn't ask as much as they told us that they were going to follow. So I get a lot of people that say, boy, your parents and your in-laws must really love you guys. I was like, no, they love the grandkids.
Right.
And so that's why we're here. But I like to say that we increased the population of Topeka by 9 people.
By 9 people. That's impressive. That's a nice load. You really did help out Topeka just by moving here.
That's right.
It's pretty good. So what makes this position as the CEO of Go Topeka and the Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce a good fit for you? I mean, you love the community. Where is that? What's that fit for you?
Yeah, I like to say that economic development, creating economic prosperity. And let me add that in addition to the Chamber, in addition to Go Topeka, I also represent Heartland Visioning. I represent the Entrepreneurial Minority Business Development Organization. and also represent a young professional organization called Fast Forward. So really, if you look at it, it's a partnership of multiple organizations that are all working really for the same cause. They have different missions, but the vision is to create economic prosperity for our region, for Shawnee County and for Topeka. What makes this a good fit for me is when I, again, heard that energy in 2014, and I realized that Topeka and Shawnee County, I don't mean for it to sound negative, but I think they're finally ready to roll up their sleeves, work really hard, and make this just the greatest community ever. And knowing that there's that much passion and that much willingness to work that hard makes it a great fit for me, because I want to work that hard right alongside them.
Well, it's a great time in Topeka. It feels good. It's exciting. So what do you bring from Tulsa? What lessons learned or experiences or even, great things that happen that you're like, I'm bringing that here?
Well, okay. So for 17 years, I've been doing this in one community for 17 years. So there's been some starts, there's been some stops, there's been some successes, there's been a few failures. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about Tulsa, and I think that's where Topeka is right now, is that we were willing to take chances and we were willing to fail in order to succeed. And so we didn't let analysis paralysis hold us back. It was better to put one foot in front of the other and begin a journey than to sit and analyze it for so long that all of a sudden you realize you really never actually started the journey. So hearing that Topeka wanted to move forward in a very quick manner, one of the things we did in Tulsa over 10 years ago is we started a young professionals organization. And a lot of people would say, well, you started that social group, that social crowd. Really, we were just responding to something that was happening in our economy. And that was with baby boomers retiring at such a rapid pace, we looked out ahead at the economy and said to ourselves, if we don't figure out how to attract and retain young talent, we're going to be in trouble from an economic development standpoint. And so I think the success of that young professionals organization, if you look at all of Tulsa's successes for the last 10 years, because Tulsa's actually turned themselves around, I would say the probably single most important thing that happened in Tulsa was the creation of this young professionals organization, so we could ask them, tell us what you want your future Tulsa to be. And if you can point to every major success Tulsa's had, and you can point it back to that organization and their involvement in the community.
So what does that look like for Fast Forward? As you look at Fast Forward and you think about what transitions they could have, I mean, they've been around. I don't know, how long have Fast Forward been around?
Fast Forward is one of the oldest young professionals organizations in the country. The difference when you look at Fast Forward and you look at other young professionals organizations, Fast Forward was started before anybody realized there was going to be a brain drain. Anybody realized that the United States was going to have an impending workforce shortage. Mm-hmm. So if you look back to the original charter of Fast Forward, it was almost a junior chamber of commerce. It was let's figure out how to get young people plugged into the chamber. Maybe they can help us work the tables at our events, and there's just ways for them to get plugged in. So I think that was a really noble cause, but it was not as much of an economic crisis. Now we're looking at Fast Forward, and Fast Forward just has an amazing group of new leaders that are highly engaged. Mm-hmm. They're looking at it from an economic development standpoint. They're looking at it from a workforce standpoint. So their mission is really simple, to attract and retain young talent in Shawnee County. They have a secondary goal, and that's to develop our next generation of leaders. But right now, I would call Fast Forward re-energized. They've always been very energized, and they've always been a fantastic organization. But right now, with them narrowing the focus, and all of a sudden they realize that they might be the most important organization that exists for the future of this community, I think they're definitely re-energized.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited to see what they will grow to become and what's ahead for them. So another area that I'm really passionate about, obviously, is small business. And that's another area that you are really focusing on as well. So talk a little bit about small business and this council that you're looking at.
No matter what community you look at, you will find that small business is the backbone of an economy. Even in a community like Topeka, where we have state government that does help us drive a lot of our very positive economy. First of all, they add jobs. The latest statistic I read is that 85% of all new jobs are going to come from existing businesses. So they're not necessarily going to come from businesses that are big businesses that are already established and expanding. They're going to come from existing businesses. If you take 10 or 15 small businesses that over 5 years, let's just say 15 small businesses add 3 employees over 5 years, that's 45 excellent jobs in this economy. The other thing is, if you look at a chamber or you look at economy, you'll find that 85 to 90% of your businesses are made up from small businesses. So I want to put an emphasis on small business. I think it's really important. I think it's the backbone of our economy. I think it's the way that we can grow our economy. I use them as an example a lot, but I love Advisors Excel.
Mm-hmm. Okay? They're a great example.
And let's just look. It wasn't that long ago. I've heard the stories that Advisors Excel was 3 guys and an assistant in an office.
Yep.
And they were a small business. And look what they're doing for this community now. So every big business was a small business at one time. And I just think we need to celebrate the small businesses that we have. We need to work really hard on entrepreneurial startups. And we just need to put an emphasis on small business. I would like to say that big business is, or small business is big business in Topeka.
I absolutely agree. I love that statement. I think I quoted you on my Facebook page one time for that statement. Okay, so over the first 100 days as the Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka CEO, you committed yourself to listening. I mean, just nonstop listening, not making any changes, listening. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn in your time of listening and meeting with all the different community members you met with? How many people did you meet with?
In the first 100 days, it was like 350 individual meetings. So I was starting first thing in the morning and going into the evening.
This was before his family had moved here.
Yeah, my family didn't relocate until May, and so I had plenty of time. And so for that 100 days, I tried to meet with as many people as possible. I tried to meet with citizens, have coffee with citizens, clergy. I met with people from every part of town. I tried to meet with groups from every ethnicity group. I was meeting with big businesses. I was meeting with young professionals, as many people as possible. Probably my biggest aha for Topeka was this. That is, people that had transplants, people that have lived in other places that have moved to Topeka, whether they moved 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, or even 20 years ago, absolutely love this community. Mm-hmm. They think it's the greatest place they've ever lived. My mom was just telling somebody recently, she's lived in Oklahoma, she's lived in California, she's lived in Illinois, she's lived in Arizona, she's lived in Northwest Arkansas and Texas, and she was telling somebody, this is the greatest place I've ever lived. And I've only been here for a very short period of time. When you find people that have been here their entire lives, they're a little bit more rough on Topeka and Shawnee County. And I almost say it's part of our culture here. I was brought up that my dad liked to complain about the weather. Okay, if it was really hot, it's too hot. If it was really cold, if it's too cold. If it's just right, it's not going to be just right long enough. It's going to be too hot or too cold tomorrow. I think here in Shawnee County, really one of our pastimes is we like to sort of say negative things about our community. So I think community pride is my big aha, and I think that for all of us to really just wake up a little bit and realize that we live in a pretty fantastic place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm a transplant, so I have felt that many times that I'm like, this is the greatest community I've lived in. It's wonderful. So, as you look at the whole, what do you want the community to know? What do you want to pass on?
So somebody asked me this just recently. What is your vision for Topeka and Shawnee County? And here's when I think we've arrived. Right now, if I'm traveling or if you're traveling and somebody says, where are you from? If you say Topeka, you probably get one of 2 looks or answers. One answer is, I really don't know anything about Topeka. I know I had to memorize that city because it's a capital city when I was a kid. But other than that, I don't know anything. Or if you're in Missouri or if you're in Wichita or you're somewhere closer, you may actually get a negative response of, I've heard Topeka is really not that nice of a place, or isn't it kind of rough, or I just, I don't hear very many good things about Topeka. My vision for Topeka is that when I'm traveling or when you're traveling and we tell somebody, that I live in Topeka, Kansas, that they say, I've heard great things about that. I mean, that's a really happening place. Isn't it close to Kansas City? And the positive attributes are more well known. I think we have to do that multiple ways. First of all, we have to do some marketing ourselves. But I think that once we get all of our citizens speaking very positively, and we all have Topeka pride, we're Topeka proud, I think that's going to resonate throughout the country. And using some of the social media that we're doing right now, I think can have a really big impact. But again, my vision is whenever we're traveling, when we talk about Topeka, that it's a positive response.
So how can somebody get more information about the chamber? And also, I want to know your hashtag that you're pushing.
Oh, okay. So it's not just me that's pushing. It's several organizations. It seems like Top City has really kind of taken hold. And several organizations got into a room recently because we were all talking about Topeka Proud, Topeka Pride, and that we should all be speaking with one voice. And so it was folks from Visit Topeka, Heartland Visioning, Fast Forward, Chamber of Commerce, Go Topeka, and we really kind of walked out of the room and said that if you're going to use a hashtag, let's try for a while to all use hashtag Top City. And so you've seen different iterations of it. I was at the library, touring the library, and after I toured, by the way, I was very impressed with our library.
Awesome. Number
blown
one.
Away, quite frankly, blown away by our library. But when I walked out and I posted on social media, it's hashtag Top City Reads. If you're at a really fun restaurant or a good restaurant, hashtag Top City Eats, and you can, but just saying hashtag Top City. And then I don't know exactly how hashtags work, but I've learned a little bit about it recently. When you click through, you can see that it's really taken hold. A lot of people are using it.
That's great. That's great. And how can somebody get more information on the chamber?
Go to the chamber's website. And I would encourage you, instead of just getting more information on the chamber, really get out there, check out Fast Forward. Check out the Entrepreneurial Minority Business Development. Heartland Visioning is doing some great things too. So I would say check out all of those organizations. One of the things the Chamber has coming up soon that I want to mention is that we are going to be actually seeding a small business board. I think that we've settled on calling it a small business council. So back to my small business aspirations, we're hoping to have 20 to 30 small businesses sitting around a table that really will be the community small business board and be representative of all small businesses in Topeka. So kind of watch for that too.
That's awesome. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right, that was Matt Pivarnik, CEO of Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka.
My name is Ken Daniel, and the name of my company is Midway Wholesale.
What is TIBA? TIBA is advice and support. TIBA is information and education. TIBA is a voice for small business.
It's amazing the changes that we've gotten made in state law to the point where we had a list at one time and it's just about finished.
The Topeka Independent Business Association is strong because of its members. Become a member today by visiting topekatiba.org.
I'm with Traci Herrick and Matt Deusch with Berberich, Trahan and Company, and we're going to talk a little bit about it's a new part of your company. It's a new service, but it's really not that new. What's new about it is you, Traci, right? So we're going to talk about this new service they have that is it's CFO consulting. So tell us about it. What is this CFO consulting?
So the CFO consulting is that there are small to businesses and organizations that don't quite yet need a full-time CFO, and we've seen that need. And so Berberich, Trahan and Company, a proactive CPA firm, hired me, a former CFO, to come on board with their team and work with them to provide those services to those small businesses and organizations.
So, Traci, how about a little bit of background on you? You're a past CFO. Tell me a little bit more about you.
Great. Yeah, I was a CFO with a state agency, the Department of Commerce, for almost 7 years. As you know, the Department of Commerce, the state of Kansas, declining budgets, so I have a lot of budget experience and working through hard times and also trying to make the dollar stretch. Again, a lot of small businesses and organizations are on a limited budget, and so I can help them work through those financial goals that they're working on.
Excellent. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about this. Okay, so who is, you talked about small business, like what is the size of the small business that's probably thinking, I mean, I know that they're thinking, how in the heck am I going to afford a CFO, right? That's probably the business you're talking about, but what size is that? Where does that start happening at?
Right. again, most small businesses and organizations don't quite yet need a full-time CFO. So I'm going to be helping them while they're growing. And really, you're probably looking at those that have revenues of between $1 and $20 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when businesses get above $20 million, they usually need a full-time person. But in that in-between zone between $1 million and $20 million, they could really benefit from just having someone part-time.
So explain it a little bit more. So it's an outsourced CFO. So if somebody's thinking about that, what does that look like for them? I mean, does that mean everything's outside of the office? How does that look?
Well, actually, no. And we purposely called it outsourced CFO instead of like a virtual CFO, because a big thing about our firm is we love face-to-face contact. We think that we can get the most benefit when we're face-to-face with somebody. So it's actually Traci coming on site with a company anywhere from 3 to 7 to 10 hours a week, and actually being on site on the premises, working with the staff. Kind of a big misconception is, you're hiring an outsourced CFO. Oh, we're going to have to fire our bookkeeper, our accountant. That's not true. The CFO is really a high-level position working with your current accounting structure. So we really see the need come in when businesses are, they're getting accurate historical financials, but they don't have the strategic forward-looking vision. And so, that's where we can really jump in and just supplement your current accounting staff that you have in place.
So it's kind of that place when you're going from small business and you can see yourself launch up into a big business or a larger business, but you keep running into the hiccup between bookkeeping and the explanation and the true strategy between that. Because I even think of it for my small business as an entrepreneur brain. That doesn't really work out with the bookkeeper brain all the time, right? So that's got to be the person who kind of helps guide that entrepreneurial spirit to say, okay, well, that makes sense, but we're going to have to do this. Am I thinking on the right track here?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I would be there to help them make confident financial decisions, make sure they're on track to reach their goals, and make sure that they have sound financial systems in place.
That's excellent. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the whole company. Berberich Trahan has been around for a long time. They've been right here, and so you guys have been innovative and been thinking outside the box for many years now that I've been watching. So tell me a little bit about the company.
Yeah, we are actually 103 years old.
103 years old. Yep. Are you serious?
Right here in Topeka.
Wow.
Yep.
I guess we did an article on you guys, and it was at the 100-year mark.
That's right.
Obviously, that was 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. So really, the outsourced CFO really comes kind of as an offshoot of where we're going as a company. The world's changing, and things are moving faster. And we're kind of, 3 or 4 years ago, we realized that historical financials only take you so far. We're really limiting the value that we provide to our customers by just reporting on historical information. So we're really trying to think strategically with our clients and really help them build for the future. At the end of the day, we see our value to companies being that we can help them achieve their goals and get them to where they want to be in the future. And it's hard to do that by just working on historical information. We really need to think strategically and really, like Traci said, be proactive with them and think about things in the future before they actually happen, so you can plan ahead. Avoid those bumps in the road and really take advantage of your opportunities that you have.
That's great. Okay, so I of course want them to be able to know where to get information about you, but I wanted just to mention that ever since I started my company, I have heard multiple times over, and we've talked about it in the magazine, how much you need a team around you. And it sounds like that's really what you're stepping in as a company and doing and saying, we are your team. We are part of your team. And now, as so much so that they will literally go into your office with this new CFO consulting. So if somebody is interested in this and they want to learn more about it, how do they talk with you about it? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I think really the best way is to give us a call. Call Traci or myself, Matt, at 234-3427. And to kind of talk about what you were just talking about, the team atmosphere. I think what makes us unique in this space, because there are certain consultants who are just one person who offer outsourced CFO services, but with Traci we have a team around her. So there's tax aspects of your business. Well, we have a whole tax department that can help her consult you through different decisions that you're making. we have outsourced accounting people. So if you don't have the accounting structure in place, Traci can work with our outsourced accountants. So it really is a whole team that really can bring the value to the company. So even though Traci may be the face, she has a whole support system behind her that can help, with special issues and things like that. So
that's great. Thank you so much, guys. Give us that phone number again, just so that if anyone was listening, whoever's listening, they can write it down.
Okay, 234-3427.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt and Traci, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Andrea Engstrom with me, business coach with Action Coach Business Coaching and agency founder of Bajillion Agency, to give us a quick tip. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. One of the areas that I love to help my clients focus on is having a very strong sales approach and a sales script. So not just great marketing, but also a plan for how they're going to close those deals when they come in. So what I have my clients always do is start with a positioning statement. So I'm going to share our magic positioning statement with you. This is what you say at the beginning of any sales meeting or any meeting with a potential partner. You say, the purpose of our meeting today is for me to put myself in your shoes by asking a number of questions so that I can truly understand what you need and help you to get what you want. Does that sound fair enough? So what happens is you've just said, I'm just going to ask you questions so that I really understand what's important to you and then see if I can help you to get what you want. Now, if after that statement, you launch into telling them all about your services and everything that's great about you and your company and why they should do business with you and how it's really good for everyone if you work with them, then you've just lied to them and not asked them a bunch of questions. But if you say that statement up front, then the best thing you can do in a sales process is just to ask them questions about what's important to them, and then maybe at the end make a recommendation of your next steps together. And that's always going to be a winning approach. So set yourself up for success with this positioning statement.
That was Andrea Engstrom, business coach with Action Coach Business Coaching and agency founder of Bajillion Agency. Thanks so much for joining me on TK Business Live. And thanks to my guests, Matt Pivarnik with Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka, Matt Deusch and Traci Herrick with Berberich Training and Company, and Andrea Engstrom with Action Coach Business Coaching. Also, a big thanks out to our sponsor, the Topeka Independent Business Association. They're a great organization. They work to support small businesses and give a voice to small businesses. You can learn more about them at the Topeka Independent Business Association's website, topekatiba.org. Or go check them out at a lunch meeting. They've got great lunch meetings, great speakers, and it's a good chance to get to network with other small business owners. Thanks again for joining us on TK Business Live, and we hope you have a fabulous and successful week. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining Tara and her guests on TK Business Live. Join us again next Sunday at 11:30 to hear more from our community business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people making a difference in the landscape of how business is progressively moving forward in Topeka. TK Business Live is brought to you by the members of the Topeka Independent Business Association.